Okay, hope this one sticks. I'm having historically terrible stream problems right now. Ugh, never mind. Hey guys, it's Emma Fingeling with TYT Politics. So obviously the news broke last night that Jeff Sessions had met with the Russian diplomat Sergei Kislyak twice in 2016. Ugh. That is the same Russian diplomat who was in communication with National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who was just fired, resigned/fired. Michael Flynn was obviously fired. The former senator from Alabama, that's Jeff Sessions, reportedly first spoke with Kislyak in July during a Heritage Foundation event, and then Sessions also apparently spoke to him by phone in September. Again, this is when he was a senator, at a time when the U.S. intelligence officials believed Russia was interfering with the election and you know, whatever, with the WikiLeaks stuff. Sessions said early Thursday, today, that he was willing to recuse himself from a federal probe of the involvement of Trump with Russia. And he said, his quote, "I have said when it's appropriate, I will recuse myself," he told NBC News. There's no doubt about that. That's basically kind of just, like, I want to keep this job, but I won't involve myself in an investigation that involves myself. So, you know, wow, big deal, Jeff Sessions. This morning, the ACLU called for Sessions to be investigated for perjury. They said this, as the ACLU, Jeff Sessions took an oath before the Senate Judiciary Committee to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and it is now clear that he broke that oath in his confirmation hearing. This matter must not and cannot be seen as a partisan issue, as it goes to the heart of the credibility of our democracy. I agree. I think it's less of the credibility of our democracy and more of the corruption that is involved with this because of Trump and everyone around him having financial ties to Russia, but I will get into that later after I give you the rundown of what happened this morning. This morning, Chuck Schumer, obviously the Senate Minority Leader, called upon Jeff Sessions to resign as Attorney General, saying as follows: "There cannot be even a scintilla of doubt about the impartiality and fairness of the Attorney General, the top law enforcement official of the land," Schumer said. By the way, based on his racist rhetoric, I'm pretty sure I already had some doubts. "Because the Department of Justice should be above reproach, for the good of the country, Attorney General Sessions should resign." Schumer also said Deputy Attorney General Dana Boente should appoint an independent prosecutor to look at Russia's attempted influence in the 2016 election, blah, 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 sour grapes, to ensure the integrity of the investigation. If that doesn't happen, Schumer said Congress should revive its own power to name an independent prosecutor, which was created in 1978 after Watergate and lapsed following the Kenneth Starr investigation of President Bill Clinton in the 1990s. Schumer also called on the Justice Department Inspector General to begin an immediate investigation. I agree about the investigation. Again, I will say personally I am more concerned about the financial ties than the election interference. Look, leaks happen. There's no doubt that the leaks were true, and the motivation, if Trump officials were talking with the Russian government, that is treasonous motivation, but it bothers me that the Democrats are getting off the hook by saying that this is just Russian involvement. I'm more concerned about how policy in the Trump administration is going to personally enrich both Russian officials and themselves based on their financial ties. So I'm a little concerned with Chuck Schumer's insistence that it's still about the election. Again, that's less of my concern. Maybe that's my personal opinion, but, you know, who knows? Or maybe I do. There's a growing number of Republicans who also are saying he should recuse himself, not resign. I think that is so, like, weak sauce, but whatever. House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz of Utah tweeted early today that Sessions should clarify his testimony and recuse himself. Rob Portman of Ohio said Jeff Sessions is a former colleague and a friend, but I think it would be best for him and the country to recuse himself from the Department of Justice Russia probe. Okay, that's obvious. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said on Morning Joe that Sessions should bow out. But recuse himself is obviously different from resign. It seems like Sessions will not resign based on the above statements about just recusing himself and the entire party backing him. Why would he resign, honestly? Because if you're a Republican Attorney General, and, you know, honestly, Sessions has worked to get this position his entire life and has obstacles, including literally not getting a judgeship because he was too racist. Now he has all this power. He's the most powerful, person in law in the entire land. So he's not going to give it up when he has a Republican Senate, a Republican House, a Republican president, and Republican state legislatures across the country. The only way that Jeff Sessions is going to get out of this office is if there is bipartisan support for an investigation and perhaps forcing him out. And I think the real test is going to be the Warhawk tag team, John McCain and Lindsey Graham. I've said this from the beginning. They are going to be the Republicans that do Donald Trump in on these Russia ties. If it comes to that, they will be the straw that breaks, or they will be the first wave of Republicans breaking from their party and breaking rank to investigate Trump. Last night, conveniently, they had a town hall with CNN and Dana Bash, and they said this. Lindsey Graham said Wednesday, if the FBI determines that President Donald Trump's campaign illegally coordinated with Russia, that Jeff Sessions should recuse himself and to make the decision whether to pursue prosecutions, saying a Trump appointee cannot make this decision. Graham deflected a question about the Washington Post report about Sergei Kislyak, and he said this: if there were contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials, they may be legitimate, they may be okay. I want to know what happened between the Trump campaign, the Clinton campaign, and the Russians. And when it comes to Russia, he has a blind spot, Graham said, which is strong language from a Republican. The bottom line is Putin is disrupting democracy everywhere. So those two are going to be the ones that I think determine how the rest of the party responds to Trump's Russia allegations. And I'm going to give them a bit of a pass here. Last night the news just broke, and they probably had no idea what to say and didn't have all the facts. But again, I think these are the guys that are going to, push the bipartisan effort to maybe have an investigation. And again, to me, the election interference is way less interesting than the financial ties. And actually, of all people, Nancy Pelosi said something pertaining to it this morning. Sessions is not fit to serve as the top law enforcement officer of our country and must resign. There must be an independent bipartisan outside commission to investigate the Trump personal political and financial connections to the Russians. For once, I agree with her. That is the important stuff. And everyone in his administration, not everyone, but many people in his administration have extremely shady financial ties to Russia. And, that cannot be overlooked. This is important for context. Paul Manafort used to be the campaign manager of Donald Trump. He was forced out when the Trump campaign was doing really poorly. But a lot of the people that were staffed in Trump's, arena were from the Manafort side of things. And listen to how deeply connected Paul Manafort is to Russia. A week before Michael Flynn resigned as National Security Advisor, a sealed proposal was hand-delivered to his office, this is Michael Flynn, outlining a way for President Trump to lift sanctions against Russia. Mr. Flynn is gone, having been caught lying about his own discussion of sanctions with the Russian ambassador. But the proposal, a peace plan for Ukraine and Russia, remains, along with those pushing it. Michael D. Cohen, the president's personal lawyer, who delivered the document, Felix H. Sater, a business associate who helped Trump scout deals with Russia personally, and a Ukrainian lawmaker trying to rise in the political opposition movement shaped in part by Mr. Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort. It is well known that Paul Manafort had significant business dealings with Russia and in the Ukraine. He had millions of dollars personally invested in both Ukrainian and Russian political systems. Manafort received, this is fact, more than $12 million in cash payments from the pro-Russian Ukrainian political party he worked for prior to joining the Trump campaign. That's serious stuff. How about Wilbur Ross, who was up for Secretary of Commerce, who Rachel Maddow, of all people, destroyed the other night? A group of Democratic senators have been waiting for 2 weeks for Wilbur Ross, a billionaire investor who has served as the vice chairman of the Bank of Cyprus since 2014, to answer a series of questions about possible links between the bank, Russian officials, and current and former Trump administration and campaign officials. Ross also received a second letter on Friday from Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey with more detailed questions about possible Russia links. I love how that's all that's on Cory Booker's mind is Russia. Ross, a private equity investor who has said that he would step down from the bank after his final confirmation, had also been asked to provide more details about his own relationship with previous and current Russian investors in the bank, including Viktor Vekselberg, a longtime ally of the Russian president, and Vladimir Guys, I'm tapping out. I can't pronounce that. The former vice chairman of the Bank of Cyprus, who was also a former KGB agent with a close relationship with Putin. So it's fair to assume that many of these people compiled in Trump's cabinet by Manafort have similar connections, and Wilbur Ross, it is obvious that he has these connections, who's, about to be confirmed probably for Secretary of Commerce. But what do we know about Trump himself? Okay, this is important. We don't know anything because he won't release his goddamn tax returns, which is something he's gotten away with, despite the fact that every president previously has, in recent history. And it's because the rules don't apply to him, and he's strong. That's the benefit for him of being just kind of a bully. He's able to get away with it. But this is a quote that's very important, I think, and very indicative of how deep, probably, his ties are financially to Russia. Since the 1980s, Trump and his family members have made numerous trips to Moscow in search of business opportunities, and they've relied on Russian investors to buy their properties around the world. This is a quote. Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets, Trump's son, Donald Jr., told the real estate conference in 2008, according to an account posted on the website of eTurbo News, a trade publication. We see a lot of money pouring in from Russia. That was said in 2008. Could things have changed since then? Maybe. But this doesn't seem to indicate it. And everyone around Trump, financial dealings to Russia, financial dealings with Putin, financial dealings with pro-Russian Ukrainian political parties. Oi! At some point, guys, we cannot ignore this. I'm not into the Russia baiting, but if you are not concerned about these financial ties, I'm telling you, you're an idiot. Just because we don't want to beat the war drum doesn't mean that we can't be concerned about this stuff. I find there to be a lot of hypocrisy among some on the left, because if Hillary Clinton had this deep and was president and was this close to the leader of Saudi Arabia, and all of the people in her cabinet were cozying up and doing all of these things based on her past financial dealings, people would be freaking out. You should also be freaking about this Russia stuff. That is separate from the election. This is financial, personal dealings. This is the definition of corruption. And you have people lying about it. You have Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, lying. You can watch his testimony. He just denied it. But he had conversations twice. And that is fact as of right now. But we'll have to wait and see how this shakes out in the wash. But I want everyone to be on high alert because this is Corruption 101. Alright guys, have a great day.